Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Buffalo Bills broke the Baltimore Ravens' heart yet again in one of the most ridiculous comebacks you will ever see. Earlier, the Packers smothered the Lions' offense, and Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers looked kind of awesome against the Jets.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Buffalo Bills did it again. They broke the hearts of the Baltimore Ravens, this time in one of the craziest comebacks we've seen in the regular season. A 41-40 win in Buffalo in the opener, in which the Bills outscored the Ravens 22-6 in the fourth quarter. Just less than 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The Baltimore Ravens, had a 99% win probability. Kevin Ostreicher from Locked On Ravens joins me now. And Kevin, you must be used to games like this by now, unfortunately. And we just saw a version of this. How did this happen?
Well, Peter, it comes down to one simple saying. Nobody beats the Baltimore Ravens like the Baltimore Ravens. It's just every time. And look, credit to the Bills for making the comeback. It was a great effort from Josh Allen and company. The Bills looked like they were out of this thing. I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, it was over until it wasn't over, and then it was over for the Ravens. I mean, you look at some of the penalties late in this game. Obviously, the Derrick Henry fumble was absolutely massive and gave the Bills back the ball with exceptional field position. And then it's just over and over again. I mean, I can point to a lot of plays. Tyler Loop missing the extra point that kept the Bills in this game. Instead of a 16-point game with two two-pointers needed, it only became a 15-point game. Jair Alexander he didn't let Keon Coleman score. I mean, that's what you do. If there's no time late in the game and you need to stage a comeback, well, your offense needs to get the ball back in order to do so. In the Bills, that was an easy say. You know what? Keon Coleman stopped. Let's just kneel the ball, get to the hash we want. And Matt Prater drills that field goal. It's a very disappointing way to start the season in a game that was really fun for the Ravens until it wasn't.
Yeah, Jair Alexander getting beat on consecutive plays on that last drive. And he was supposed to be someone who came in and brought stability to that secondary after some of the issues that they had early last season. What part of this is most concerning to you, Kevin? Because the 40 points looks great. The offense got whatever it wanted seemingly all game until that last series. And maybe we should talk about that last series because it did not look like a team that was trying to put the Buffalo Bills away. It looked like a team trying not to lose to me. Yeah,
I agree. And that's something that the Ravens have done recently. I mean, they have had trouble, especially in big moments, not putting their opponent away. And like we saw, look, when Derrick Henry scored that touchdown late, you're like, okay, this game is all but shut down. Like the Ravens have this under control. But then you see like end arounds and like jet sweeps and, just weird play calling. And I thought that Joe Brady's play calling wasn't great either for the Bills at times, but Todd Monken, for as good as he's been for this Ravens team over the course of now a little bit more than 2 years, he has an ability to get too cute at times. And I think we saw that tonight where, unfortunately for this Ravens team, you had clear opportunities. I mean, Derrick Henry in this game was running wild. And look, I get he fumbled at the end of the game. He'll be the first to take accountability for that, I'm sure. But the Ravens as a team on the ground, they averaged 8.2 yards per carry on the day. 8.2.
Is that good, Kevin?
It's not terrible. I take it personally, Peter. So if I'm the Ravens, I'm just trying to, with that being said, work the run game and work play action off of it too. Because the Bills, whenever a team, not just the Bills, whenever a team gets into a situation where they can't stop the run, they have to cheat, whether it's stepping up in the box, stacking the box. You can easily get guys over that. And I feel like the Ravens at times on offense just got too cute, and the defense clearly was not up to the task. And that's a whole different conversation.
So what would give you hope as a Ravens fan that they can move past yet another brutal defeat? Understanding this is the regular season, not the playoffs. There's still, there's 16 more of these in the regular season, and then hopefully the playoffs for them.
Well, if there's anything, Peter said they play the Browns in week 2, although they almost handed the Bengals an upset loss, I guess, and the Ravens actually lost to the Browns last season. I mean, you just have to look at the roster, I guess, is where I would go. I mean, this is a very talented roster. They showed that they can hang points on anybody. It's just, and look, this does no favors for their playoff narrative. I mean, anything. This is a loss that is going to draw out a lot of the narratives that we heard all offseason. I think throughout this game, for the most part, we were saying, okay, well, look, we see the Ravens dominating on offense, and they have Josh Allen rattle a little bit on defense. And then he just saw it slowly begin to unravel. And then it just quickly just all came undone. And so to me, I think you just have to look at the roster. I think that's really the only thing you can do right now. We're recording this literally 5 minutes after the game ended. So obviously everybody has a lot of charged up emotions, but I think you got to take a deep breath. The Ravens got out of this game. It looks like unscathed. I know Hamilton had a scare, but he looks to be okay. I think Marlon, I haven't heard anything on Marlon, but that roster stacked top to bottom. They're still, I mean, it's one game, right? Week 1 overreactions is always going to happen. Now, of course, this has been a trend for years for the Ravens. So it's just, look at the roster. I'm going to say it again. Look at the roster. I think that's where you got to go.
You can stay up to date all year on the Baltimore Ravens by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Ravens on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Packers defense shut down the vaunted Lions offense. Before we get to that, the Florida Gators were stunned over the weekend. The NFL season is finally here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. The South Florida Bulls marched into the swamp on Saturday and stunned the 13th ranked Florida Gators.
Wow, that was one of the worst games I've ever experienced. One of the most embarrassing losses I've ever experienced. And for all the people talking about fire Billy Napier, we'll talk about that, I'm sure. You can absolutely say that this is a fireable offense. Year 4, by the way. So you could absolutely say that it's a fireable offense. But wow, I mean, let's that's more big picture, right? That's more of a big picture thing. Just the here and now. That was just an awful performance.
Elsewhere in football, the 49ers found a way to hold on against the Seattle Seahawks.
Never a doubt, Croc. San Francisco 49ers victorious in week 1, 17-13, the final over the Seattle Seahawks. And it was the 49ers' best player, Nick Bosa, in the end, that had the strip sack fumble recovery to seal it as the Seahawks were marching down the football field to try to put together a game-winning drive. That drive ended by Nick Bosa and the San Francisco 49ers. Really, I feel like they sneak out of Seattle and stole a victory. I'm still not sure how they won that football game.
The Bengals couldn't get anything going on offense and still somehow beat the Browns.
A win is a win for the Cincinnati Bengals, and boy, did they need some luck to get there. I'm Jake Lisco from the Locked On Bengals podcast, where we will have you covered in full after the Bengals scrape out a win in Cleveland, and they needed a couple missed kicks and a couple dropped passes that turned into interceptions to get there. But you got to be encouraged by the way the Bengals defended the run in this game against a Cleveland team that you knew was going to want to run the ball. They found ways to get pressure late in the game to force inaccurate throws that the Bengals DBs collected as interceptions. Meanwhile, the offense surely will get better than what we saw today. And it was a tale of two halves, where in the first half, they were producing at a very high level despite limited drives. And then second drive that had operational issues, looked a little bit out of sorts. The second half, 7 total yards of offense, I think it was, couldn't get anything going that needs to be fixed against a Cleveland Browns defense that has had their number. Again, we'll have your full takeaways on the Locked On Bengals YouTube channel and everywhere you get your podcast.
And Carlos Alcaraz is back on top of men's tennis after reclaiming the U.S. Open crown in a 4-set win over Jannik Sinner. At just 22 years old, Alcaraz now has 6 slam titles and the world number 1 ranking once again. He and Sinner have split the last 8 majors, creating a rivalry that feels destined to define this era, if it doesn't already. Sunday's victory wasn't just about the trophy, though. Alcaraz said it was the most complete tournament of his career. I'm sure down the line, he'll have moments that might top this one, though, given the way his career has gone so far. The Green Bay Packers look like serious contenders after crushing the Lions. I broke down the win in my post-game reaction. And what did Jordan Love say? Micah Parsons, he had visions. Oh, Micah Parsons is going to be announced last. The crowd is going to go wild, which, by the way, did happen. And then on the first drive, Micah Parsons is going to get a sack to force 3-and-out. Well, he didn't get a sack, but he got a pressure that turned into an incompletion that turned into a 3-and-out. Micah Parsons and this defense, from top to bottomest, whooped up on this Detroit Lions team. I thought, and I said this on the show over and over and over, that I thought this Lions offensive line was going to take a step back. I said all week, this is how you attack this Lions team. Right now, they are dealing with flux. Graham Glasgow at center, Christian Mahogany at left guard, and Tate Ratledge, the rookie, at right guard. I did not expect the ass kicking that would ensue by the Packers. Rashawn Gary had a sack and a half, including a near safety. Micah Parsons had a sack. Devontae Wyatt had a sack. Lucas Van Ness had a sack. It was everybody. It was everybody. And it was the most tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage in the Dan Campbell era. At one point in the fourth quarter, it was 15 of 21 runs were hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. And by the way, after that, they tackled Jahmyr Gibbs behind the line again. 15 of 21 runs hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. The reason that's unusual in the Dan Campbell era is because they're used to living on the other side of the line of scrimmage. They're used to blowing guys off the line. So all of the concern, Micah Parsons' run defense, totally overblown. The Lions could not run the ball in this game. 22 carries for 46 yards. If you want to take out the Jared Goff kneel down, that's fine. 21 carries for 47 yards. The numbers don't look any better. We're talking about a shade over 2 yards per carry. This was the most explosive run game in the NFL last year. Jared Goff, 31 of 39. Okay, that's nice efficiency, I guess, but 5.8 yards per attempt. And he threw a huge pick, a momentous pick in the red zone because Micah Parsons beats Penei Sewell cold. I mean cold on an inside move that was just unbelievable. Made me stand up from my seat because Penei Sewell does not get beat like that. I think when the final numbers come in, it will show that this was one of the highest pressure games ever given up by Penei Sewell. Kingsley Enagbare was getting pressures against Penei Sewell. That's how much this Packers defensive front dominated. And then in the second half for the Packers run game, all of a sudden, things start to open up for them a little bit. Josh Jacobs starts to hit, 6, 8, 15, and ultimately seals the game in the fourth quarter with the touchdown. Sluggish start to the third quarter, to be sure. They go 3-and-out. You have that weird sequence. Jordan Love almost throws the interception. Then he throws a pick six that gets called back. Those plays are going to stick out in people's minds, and I understand why. But this was a dominant performance from start to finish. A dominant performance. And if this is the Packers' defensive front, and we're going to talk more about this defense in a second, but if this is what this Packers front looks like with Micah Parsons playing what will end up probably being between 30 and 40% of snaps, maybe less, 25 to 30% of snaps. If this is the version of the defense that you get, and this is the version of the pass protection that you get, I mean, look, this is not the best defensive front the Packers are going to face all year. Aiden Hutchinson has not played football in almost a year. But they dominated. And the Lions, they were trying stuff. They were sending extra bodies. They were trying to find pressure. And Jordan Love is just like, nope, this. Josh Jacobs was an MFer as a protection player. That was something he was inconsistent with doing last year. Every time a linebacker came free up the middle, Josh Jacobs, bang, meet him at the point. Jordan Love has room to throw. And with the exception of that craft miss on the sail route, Jordan Love put the ball where he needed to all game. Brian Branch makes the diving play. That's a throw into coverage, but like the touchdown to Kraft is a missile shot. The seam ball to Jaden Reed, the deep post to Romeo Dobbs, those were beautiful throws. Absolutely gorgeous throws from Jordan Love. When he has time, he can just put the ball wherever he wants. And I thought Tony Romo called it out well. They started fast, and then Jordan Love played the game he needed to in the second half. Stay up to date all year on the Green Bay Packers by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Packers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers looked pretty dang good against the Jets. Aaron Rodgers tossed 4 touchdowns and the Steelers edged out the New York Jets. Locked On Steelers host Chris Carter reacted to Rodgers' big day in a grudge match.
I agreed with John Butchko, our Locked On Jets host, and said, this is take the under on this game. Both of us were wrong. We thought neither team would be able to put up 24 points, let alone 30 points. I did say the Steelers would score 26, but I didn't think that they would get to 30, nor did I think the Jets would get to 30. We'll get to the Steelers defense in a bit because they got some issues. But we gotta lead off this show talking about Aaron Rodgers and what he did with this Steelers offense. What's truly impressive to me about Aaron Rodgers is he didn't just lean on one player. He didn't just lean on a certain thing. He was able to go out there and dissect the Jets defense with several different people, with several different concepts, attacked vertically and horizontally, and use so many different things that could make it harder for teams to lock in on what he's liking because he's that cerebral of a quarterback. That's something that I thought could work to the Steelers' advantage, but I wasn't sure, could they make it happen with Arthur Smith's offense? And let me just say, all kudos to Arthur Smith. This was a well-called game. He opened up so many different opportunities. The trick play things that he'd been trying to set up with like the jet sweep to Jonnu Smith, it worked. It got them a touchdown. You look at Aaron Rodgers. He completed passes to 7 different guys. 3 catches for Kenneth Gainwell, 5 for Jonnu Smith, 1 touchdown for Ben Skoranek, 2 for Jaylen Warren. He also got a touchdown, 3 for Pat Freiermuth, 4 for Calvin Austin, also with a touchdown, and your leading receiver, DK Metcalf, 4 catches for 83 yards. That 1 tip drill pass was pretty wild. But what's great about for the Steelers offense is they just put on tape several different ways to hurt you with the passing game and different concepts. And that's going to be something that can get really annoying for opposing defenses down the line. We've talked for years, go back to Antonio Brown's best days with the Steelers. A lot of times it was like, hey, you can't stop Antonio Brown, one-on-one. But if you could take him away and the Steelers didn't have another prolific receiver doing it for them, like Juju when he was young or Martavis Bryant when he wasn't, suspended for the entire season, you can figure out a way to kind of mitigate that if you're able to take one superstar out of the game. I still think the best part of the Steelers 2020 run when they were 11-0 to start the season was there was that just like a 2-month period where Ben Roethlisberger, each week, his leading receiver was someone different. So you weren't able to pinpoint what he was doing. Eventually that went away. But if Aaron Rodgers is able to maintain this for the season, I'm not saying 4 touchdowns a game. That would be ridiculous. That'd also be his 5th MVP if he does that, right? But I'm not saying he has to maintain the scoring pace that he's on, but I am saying if he can maintain the efficiency of where he goes with the ball, I think that's going to go a long way for the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially if eventually this run game does kick in. Now, I will say the run game wasn't what you wanted it to be in week 1. We did say, hey, in preseason, we weren't seeing a lot of different things. I really didn't see the extra concepts in the run game that made me all that excited to see what this group can do. I do think that the offensive line gave up more than their fair share of pressures. I believe the Jets as a whole had 7 quarterback hits on the day, 4 sacks on the day. You don't want to do that all season long with Aaron Rodgers. That's not a great way to do it. But I will give Aaron Rodgers credit for being tough because he was taking those hits. He was just getting up and being like, all right, next go, let's get him. He wasn't, retreating into, a shell. He wasn't just getting passes off quick just to get passes off quick. He was taking it. He's like, all right, let's go back out there and get him the next time. Now, granted, you want your offensive line to be better. I thought Broderick Jones had a pretty rough day. I didn't think he was like, it was like 3 skull terrible. I do have to rewatch the game still. We'll get our grades on our Tuesday episode. So there's that. But I did feel like that in general, the offensive line could have been better, but I also said that, hey, this was a tough defensive front that they're going up against. Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, they were bringing it from all sorts of sides, and Aaron Glenn's defense was good at sitting heat, but as an offense, as a unit, you have to overcome these types of things, and they found a way to overcome them, and part of it was Aaron Rodgers, but part of it's also the pass catchers did a really good job in this game, and I'll get to more of them in a bit too, because I thought Calvin Austin had a very good game himself. I thought Pat Freiermuth quietly had a good game. He just had 3 catches for 28 yards, but there was also the Jonnu Smith touchdown where he was blocking out in space and did a really good job taking his man down the line, keeping his man occupied. Jaylen Warren also throws a block. They paved the path for Smith to get to the pylon. But again, we'll get more on them later.
And finally, September 6th added another wild chapter to Camden Yards lore. Dodgers ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto was 1 out away from a no-hitter when the 20-year-old Jackson Holliday spoiled it with a solo home run. That sparked a stunning 4-run Orioles rally in the bottom of the 9th inning to steal a 4-3 win. The Dodgers are winning 3-0 with a no-hitter with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. The Dodgers had a 99.6% win probability with 2 outs. Instead, they lost their 5th straight, the kind of collapse that leaves you shaking your head. From Cal Ripken's record streak in 1995 to Eddie Murray's 500th homer in 1996, September 6th has always delivered in Baltimore. This time, it was Holliday's swing that added to the date's magic. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, can Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears get off to a hot start? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.